How's it going, everyone? My name is Eric and welcome to the Comic Cook, where we're going to be creating meals based off of comic book characters and superheroes to inspire you nerds to actually feed yourselves. Today, inspired by the new Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem, we're going to be making pizza. This is not any particular pizza from any corner of the Ninja Turtles universe, nor am I going to be importing water from New York to make an authentic New York slice. No, this is going to be a simple pizza that any Joe Schmo like you can make on a Tuesday, as long as you have your trusty cast iron pan. Now, let's get cooking. Now, the secret to this pizza, to make sure you eat it in the same day that you start it, is using store-bought pizza dough. Now, I got this pizza dough just from the deli section of my local grocery store. Do not fear store-bought pizza dough, especially if your grocery store already sells pizzas, then it's probably going to be good for your specific use case. So, with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, let's get our mise en place. So, for those unaware, mise en place is just a fancy way of saying getting everything in its place. It just means that we're going to be getting all of our vegetables together. First, we're going to work on everything that we need for our sauce and our toppings. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is chop an onion. We're going to cut this in 2 halves lengthways and just nip off the top and the bottom bit of each end. You can save that for stock. Now, with the first half, we're going to cut this a little more roughly. This is what's going to go in the sauce. You don't need to make the onions pretty if it's just going to go in the sauce. We are going to blend our sauce together. The other half, we're going to cut a little more thinly. This is going to be the onion that we're going to put on the actual pizza. So you want that to be a little more thin so that the onion itself kind of cooks. For those of you unaware, the real secret to cutting onions is trying your best to always cut root to stem. Root to stem. This is going to rupture less cells, which means that they are going to release less juices that are going to make your eyes water. That's what I tried to do here, and my eyes did not water at all. Next, we're going to cut our bell pepper. First, you're gonna want to stand your pepper upright, sort of fillet away from the inner core. Again, you can save the core and top bits for stock. Now, adjust the angle of your camera. Start slicing into the meat of the pepper. Don't try to slice into sort of the smooth outer skin. If you slice into the meat, your knife will actually have something to grip, and it will be less likely to fly out of your hand. If your knife does happen to fly out of your hand, do not try to catch it. Let it fall. Okay, now this is going to be the hardest part of this preparation process. So what you're gonna do, 2 cloves of garlic, right? You're gonna take your knife. And then, yeah, just peel those off. Don't even bother like slicing them or mincing them or dicing them or whatever. You'll see in a minute why. Okay, this. And then, of course, open your can of tomatoes. Most people will swear by San Marzano tomatoes. I personally really like using these fire roasted tomatoes. I just think they give a little bit of an extra taste to the final dish. Now, this is my tomato sauce recipe. It's a little unconventional, but just stick with me. What you're gonna want to do is get your onions into hot oil. At throw a little salt in there just to help the cooking process, and then cook it down a little bit before adding in your garlic. Let those two flavors get to know each other, and then clear a little spot in your pan and add in your tomato paste. Mix up the onions and garlic with the tomato paste, and then you're actually going to want to get a char on the tomato paste. This pot is non-stick, so I'm not able to get as good of a char, but just do the best that you can. Once you have a char, you're going to want to deglaze the pan with cheap red wine. For the love of God, do not let me catch you putting expensive red wine into your weeknight pizza sauce. I know people say to only cook with wine that you'll drink. However, to those people, I have two rebuttals. Number one, do you think that I am made of money? And number two, you highly overestimate what I am willing to put into my body. It's a weeknight sauce. Just use the cheap shit. Alternatively, you could also use red wine vinegar. Just keep an eye on the acidity of the dish. Next, you're gonna want to throw in your tomatoes. Afterwards, you're gonna want to kill off that mostly empty bottle of Italian seasoning in your cabinet. Chefs use pre-made mixes all the time, don't worry about it, and a little pinch of red pepper flakes, and then get that up to a boil, and then let that simmer until you lose patience. Next, we're gonna get our pan ready. Get out your cast iron pan, throw in a little bit of olive oil, and then into the oil add salt, pepper, oregano, and a little bit of cornmeal. The cornmeal is going to help make sure that the final product does not stick, and we can actually get it out of the pan. Now let's work on our dough. Get out your store-bought dough, throw it onto your work surface, and cut it in half, throwing the other half into an oiled container so that you can make another pizza on another day. Start to form the dough on a floured portion of your work surface, and just sort of try to spread it out a little bit into a circular shape, and then let gravity do the rest of the work. Then just sort of wiggle and fall and spread out until it forms something that roughly looks like a pizza. And then throw it into your cast iron pan, and then just spread it out with your fingers a little bit more so that it goes slightly up the sides of the cast iron. Then when you have all of that assembled, throw the whole kit and caboodle onto a large burner on your stove, and then just let it sit there and proof for like an hour or so. Now let's return to our sauce. Ideally, you want this to really simmer down and remove some of those liquids. I did not, because I lost patience. Now throw the whole thing into a food processor, and by throw the whole thing into a food processor, I mean get out your small food processor because you're a single guy that lives alone, and blend this up in 2 batches, and then combine both batches together in a deli container, making a complete mess out of your stove, in your kitchen, and yourself during the entire process. Once the dough's proofed, turn your burner on medium heat and let the bottom of the pie cook for about 7 minutes, towards the end of which we're going to throw on our sauce. Now, my sauce is a little soupy. If you don't want yours to be quite this thin, definitely let it condense down. And you want to spread this to the complete edges of the pie. I probably used a little too much sauce here, but hey, I like my pizza saucy. The last ingredient we're going to cut is the cheese. What I have here are unfried mozzarella sticks, aka string cheese, low moisture whole milk. This is a trick devised by Adam Ragusea. Basically, you're going to want to slice cold cheese into little medallions and then throw that onto the pizza. Now just top your pizza with all of your toppings. The only topping that I did not mention earlier is pepperoni, because I'm not slicing my own pepperoni. Let's be real. Once you have that whole affair together, throw it all into an oven cranked all the way up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, being sure to set off your smoke detector on your way in. And what is a pizza without a side salad? The answer is still a pizza, but we're still going to make a side salad anyway. I've been really into these Brussels sprout salads lately. Just grab some Brussels sprouts, cut them up thin, throw in some of those onions from earlier, some croutons, some bacon bits, and some Caesar dressing, and just shake all of that together. And I do mean shake it together. You want to really incorporate the dressing into the salad. You're gonna want to cook your pizza for 10 to 15 minutes. Mine was done in about 12 to 13. You're gonna want to make sure that cheese melts and some of the onions are starting to brown and caramelize. There should be a little bit of just slightly burnt sauce around the edges. I personally really like that. It gives a really nice flavor to the final dish. And then the final secret ingredient to cast iron pizza is honey. Honestly, just start putting honey on all of your pizza. Honey is so good on pizza, you will not regret it. Now grab another knife, cut into the pizza, grab an age-appropriate beverage, and dig in. This was so good. I love making weeknight cast iron pizzas. Obviously, there are going to be days where I'm still going to order delivery. Let's be honest with ourselves, but this is a great weeknight meal option. So I think it's very fitting that the signature food of the Ninja Turtles is pizza. Much like the Turtles, pizza is versatile, and it is comforting, and it is nostalgic. The Ninja Turtles, they started as an indie comic in the 90s. It was kind of rough, a little crude. It was a parody of Daredevil and all of the other, like, hyper-violent characters of the 90s. Comic strips. It's a great episode on the Turtles that delves much deeper into their backstory. And it's just very inspiring because something that had such humble beginnings became an empire. You can do so much with the Turtles. You want to make them a little sillier, a little goofier, go to the cartoons. You want them to be a little more serious. Last Ronin, I haven't read it yet, but I've heard great things about it, been meaning to read it. So I don't have a huge connection to the Turtles, but my father does. He loved them, still loves them to this day. I was gonna try to see Mutant Mayhem with him this weekend, but he's busy, so we'll have to try another week. But yeah, that's the video. If you liked it, give it a like if you like, and I'll see you next time. Peace.